Ladies, if you're looking to impress family and friends with your brunch skills, homemade quiche is the way to go. Flour a large work surface, lay down your pie dough, and give it a dusting of flour on the top. I'm just gonna poke it and see if it's ready to roll just yet. If you try to roll your pie crust when it's really hard, it's going to crackle and be really difficult to roll. You can see as I'm poking, these edges are starting to break a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is just let this sit out on the counter for about 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna come back and roll it out. Now, as I roll, I start from the center and I push out from the middle here to the edges. And as I'm doing this, I'm turning the pie crust just a little bit. Give it a little more flour when it starts to feel sticky. The beautiful thing about working with pie crust is if you mess it up, you can just piece it right back together. I'm just running my hands along the surface of the crust to make sure that everything is a really nice, even thickness. As far as rolling pie crust into a circle, this is as good as it's gonna get for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and situate that crust on my rolling pin. Just roll it just like this, be really gentle. Grab your dish. I am using a quiche dish, and I'm just gonna roll it out right inside here and just be really gentle. And if you have any pieces that have come apart, like this one, just pinch it right together. Nobody will ever know. Now, I'm not gonna do anything decorative or crazy with the edges. I really just let the flavor speak for itself. And now what we're gonna do is transfer this to the freezer, and we're gonna let it stay in there for about 30 minutes. This part is really important because what it's gonna do is it's going to set up your pie crust for baking in the oven and keep it from potentially slumping over under the heat. The pie crust is nice and firm, and so what we're going to do now is blind bake it. For blind baking, you'll need some aluminum foil, preferably non-stick, and some pie weights. Pie weights are just these little ceramic beads, and what they do is they put weight on the pie crust so that it can't rise up and bubble and get all crazy like in the oven. The reason that we blind bake is because the pie crust will take longer to bake than our quiche filling will. So you want to give it a head start in the oven before you add your quiche filling. Now you just want to lay that aluminum foil down gently. Try not to mess up any of your edges or dig it into the pie crust. And then you're just going to form it all the way around the edges and smooth it over on the bottom. Now we're just going to add our pie weights. You only need enough to cover the bottom of the pan. Now you're just gonna pop this in the oven at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. Blind baking, done. Now I'm just gonna have this hanging out on a wire cooling rack, and I'm gonna set it off to the side until these pie weights and the aluminum foil are cool enough to touch. In the meantime, we are going to whip up that quiche filling. I've got two secret weapons when it comes to whipping up the most delicious quiche filling in the entire world. Literally in the entire world. Secret weapon number one, creme fraiche. You can think of creme fraiche like a fancy sour cream. It's gonna be really rich, and it's gonna add a luxuriously smooth mouthfeel to your quiche. As for the rest of the quiche filling ingredients, here's what you'll need. You're gonna start with 1 tablespoon of oil and 1 tablespoon of unsalted butter in a saute pan over medium-high heat. As soon as that butter is melted down, add in a 1/2 pound or 8 ounces of diced country ham, and you're just gonna cook that until it's nice and browned and caramelized in color. This should take about 5 to 8 minutes. Now you're gonna add in a 1/4 cup of green onions sliced, and cook those for another 1 to 2 minutes just until they're barely softened. Remove this from the heat and stir in 1 tablespoon of Italian flat leaf parsley minced. The ham and the green onions are good to go. Now we're gonna move on to the eggs. For this portion of the recipe, you'll need 4 large eggs, a 1/2 cup of half and half, a 1/4 cup of creme fraiche, 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, and a pinch of salt. Crack the eggs into a medium-sized mixing bowl. Now we're gonna go ahead and whisk up those eggs. Add the half and half, the creme fraiche, the pepper, and the salt. Whisk again. And it's officially time for secret weapon number 2, the sieve. This handy little kitchen tool right here is going to ensure that our egg mix is as smooth as it could possibly be. And you can see that even though we gave it a pretty good whisking, there's still some lumps in here. And this is going to fix that. Pour the mixture into the sieve and whisk, 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 whisk. You can use the side of your whisk to scrape down any bits of egg that are clinging to the sieve. And now it is officially time to assemble. I like to bring the edges of the foil to the center to enclose those pie weights, and then you can easily just lift it all out of there. The crust shouldn't look fully cooked through at this point. It should still have little damp spots. You're gonna add your ham and your green onions and your parsley right over that pie shell. Spread it around. Sprinkle with about 1 cup of cheddar cheese. Give your custard, that's right, you just made a custard, a little whisk, and then we'll pour it right over the top. And I see areas that are looking just a little more concentrated with cheese than others, so I'll just use a fork to push them inward and outward. Garnish with a little extra Italian parsley. We're gonna bake this at 375 degrees for about 25 minutes until that quiche is nice and puffed. While we're waiting on that quiche to finish baking, I wanna share a couple of my favorite springtime brunch side dishes with you. Pair it with a gorgeous spring salad full of spring mixed lettuce, sliced radishes, goat cheese, crunchy Marcona almonds, and some green peas. And to balance out that healthy salad, we'll come in with a little starchy goodness in the form of my golden crispy rosemary potatoes. It's so colorful and gorgeous. I cannot wait to dive in, so I'm not. You wanna get a really nice clean cut. And just come in with your pie server, lift it right out. This is the perfect quiche. If you're looking for more incredible brunch ideas to add to your hostess with the mostest recipe repertoire, be sure to check out my cream cheese fruit dip next. It comes on a gorgeous, easy to assemble fruit platter.